Today, road tubeless tyres and my experience with them to date. If you're thinking of switching over to road tubeless on your bike, there's information contained here in this video which may convince you it's easy and it's the way to go for your riding. If you're against the idea of road tubeless and are never going to go for it and sticking to your tubes, then there's also information contained here in this video which will guarantee you'll always stick to tubes. So in summary, from the get-go, I've got a foot on either side of the tubes and tubeless side of the fence. Now the tubeless, I'm not going to claim it's the best thing since sliced bread, because sliced bread was a pretty damn good invention and remains very popular to date. Over here, the tubes side of things is quite easy to administer and maintain, so I'm going either way with this. I'm still 50-50. What I will talk about today is the good, the bad, and the failures of owning multiple bikes with tubeless tyres and the overheads of doing that. A few things that I haven't read about on forums, discussion groups, or particularly in advertisements for how good tubeless tyres are. My timeline and experience with tubeless tyres is as follows. Well, 7 to 8 months ago, I switched my Hunt wheels over, which were tubeless compatible or tubeless ready, with the Hutchison tyres, converted those over to tubeless, not a problem at all. I took the tyres and tubes that I had on those wheels off. We installed the tubeless tyres, we beat it into the rim with just a standard floor pump. Valve core was out, so then we put the sealant in, put the valve core back in, pumped them up. Happy days. It was really that straightforward, installing brand new tubeless tyres onto those rims. After a few thousand kilometres, it was happy days. I was pretty convinced that road tubeless were fine. That was the way to go. So much so that Veronica, my wife, also ordered a set of Hunt wheels and got on the tubeless bandwagon. She got a few thousand kilometres in as well, until... First of all, Veronica got a puncture out on the road that wouldn't seal with the sealant on the rear. She popped the tyre out, or popped the bead off one side, put a tube in because you can still carry a tube if you get stuck, pumped the tyre back up, happy days. She got home with a tube in the tyre. Later that day I patched the hole by just popping the rim off, taking the tyre out, patching the hole from the inside, pumping the tyre up. A few thousand Ks later, tyre was still going okay. Probably needs a change now, which is what I'm up to today, but still a few thousand Ks after that puncture repair on her tubeless. Then it was my turn for a rear puncture that just wouldn't seal. So off with the tyre, patch over the hole, which was just fine. The hole patched just fine, but I couldn't get the tyre to bead back onto the rim. And you've probably seen the video if you're a subscriber to the channel. I called it my tubeless repair fail. Just couldn't get it done. It just would not burst out and bead back onto the tyre or back on the tyre, back onto the rim. It was not happy day. So I gave up, I put a tube tyre back on, and that was it. Problem solved in 5 minutes. I really wasn't happy with that process. On that video were a number of comments of what I did wrong and what I should try in the future. All those comments were taken on board and put into my back pocket for another day that I'll need them in the future. Fast forward a few months and a few thousand kilometers more, and my giant TCR bike that I picked up just before Christmas came with road tubeless tyres, which was great. I love road tubeless. I love road tubeless even more when somebody else has done the installation of them. So that bike came with the Gavia tubeless tyres on it, the AC0s I think they were, probably not the top of the range tyres, but they've been rolling quite well. Got a few thousand Ks on them and they're going okay, but it is time to swap them off because I have some GP 5000 tubeless to install. So I thought what I'd do is take the tubeless tyres that came on my TCR, put those on Veronica's bike with the Hunt wheels and install the new tyres, the GP 5000 TLs, on my giant TCR. Sounds straightforward, right? I'd probably factor in 30 minutes, maybe 45 minutes if these were tubed bikes with tubes and clinches. I'm 5 to 6 hours into the process. We are done, but here's why it's taken so long. First up, the good of installing road tubeless tyres. I have no problems whatsoever installing brand new road tubeless tyres onto wheels. In fact, swapping over the front tyre from the Gavia to the GP 5000 TL took exactly 7 minutes and 49 seconds. And that does include a stubborn tyre that wouldn't come off the rim, so I'm poking around here and probably lost a minute or two for this. Okay, 7 minutes, 49 seconds. That's the good. There's no problems at all there. That tyre went straight on, pumped up with a floor pump, and it was fine. Installed the goop, happy days. All good, I can't wait to get out there and get a few more kilometres on the bike. A quick side note with the rear tyre on the Giant TCR, I could not for the life of me unbead the left-hand side. I took my thumbs apart trying to get that thing off. So I jumped on the internet trying to figure out how to unbead it from the rim. It really was that stuck that I actually queried Pat Shaw from Shaw Cycling, where I purchased the bike locally here in Ballarat, and I said, Pat, what the hell am I doing wrong? I just cannot get this tyre off the rear rim. What am I doing? 3 minutes later, there was a knock on the door. Pat just happened to be in the area and bang, he popped it straight off. Happened to be a strength issue that I didn't kind of have, but I wasn't going to rip into the sidewall, but there was a certain technique to taking the tyre off. But do remember that some of those sidewalls may be a little stubborn. There is a technique to it. If you need to figure out how, visit your local bike store. Now onto the bad, the failures, and my frustrations with road tubeless. So take a seat if you're a road tubeless fan. If you're not a road tubeless fan, enjoy the ride. So what happens with a pre-used tyre is that you sit it in the bead of the tubeless rim. So pretend that's the rim, they're the hooks. Here's the tyre, it sits on the rim, but it's already been pre-stretched, so it doesn't seal to the bottom of the tyre, so air just escapes out. You can't expand it out like so. That becomes troublesome. Secondly, the tyre itself, the pre-used or pre-glued tyre that has glue and goop inside it, sticks to itself. So it doesn't want to jump out like that. It is all sticky and goopy, even when you clean the glue off, even when you scrub it with water and soapy water, and I've tried everything, the tyre itself sticks to itself. The glue used for tubeless tyres is pretty good. So that's what happens. There's no air seal and it sticks to itself. Which is two big problems. Thirdly, it's a road rim, so it's not nice and wide like a mountain bike rim. You can't do much with it. There's no real estate in here, and I'll tell you why that's important in a second. And you will need more than a standard floor pump. So you'll need an air compressor, a CO2, or an air canister to try and burst this thing out. So it's a bit of trouble. So it's very unlikely, and I've had zero success to date, getting a pre-used tubeless tyre onto a rim and getting it to seat. It just doesn't happen that way. So what I tried to do is follow all the tips that were provided in the comments of my other fail video to see how they went. Now, some worked, some didn't, but I ended up getting there. So number one, install a tube into the tyre was the first tip that I was given. So rim, tyre, put a tube in there as well, even though it's tubeless. Put a tube in, expand it out, and then deflate the tube, pop one side of the rim out, and then you've only got one side to try and pop in. Good in theory, doesn't work in practice with the wheels that I've had, because when you pull this side out, it pops away from the other side of the rim. So number one, installing a tube first to try and beat it doesn't work. Number two, soapy water. So trying to make a seal and make it nice and easy for it to slip out and pop onto the rim. That worked and then didn't. It works to pop the tyre onto the rim, but as soon as you deflate the tyre, the very thing that makes it pop onto the rim makes it pop off the rim. So I call that one a half successful thing, because you need to burst the air in without a valve core and then deflate it so you can put the core back in after you put the glue in, and it didn't work. That was very frustrating, seeing the tyre expand out and then pop back in. Number 3, more rim tape, because more is better. The theory there being there's no seal at the bottom of the tyre there, so if you wrap more rim tape, which is a requirement for tubeless tyres, it builds up the size of the rim and is more likely to seal it. That almost worked, but not quite. With tip number 1 not working at all, with tip number 2 kind of working and then not, and tip number 3 almost working, I combined 2 and 3 and voila, it worked. More rim tape to build up the rim and create a better seal for the pre-used tyre, bit of soapy water to make it sort of slip out and hook onto the rim. All I needed now was some helping hands from God that it wasn't going to slip back in when I deflated the tyre to put the goop in and the valve core back in. When I did do that, I let the tyre down very, very slowly. It did pop off the rim at the top. I thought, bugger it, let's just put the goop in and pump it up by hand. And it did work. On both tyres, it did come away on just one little section, but as soon as I put the goop in and the valve back in, I could pump it up and there was enough grab on the tyre, I guess, with the air to push it back in place, and it worked. Right, so I achieved what I set out to do. We've got the GP5000s installed on the TCR, no problems whatsoever. Probably under 20 minutes if you total that up. Tyres came off, new tyres, tubeless went on, pumped them up, happy days. Installing the Gavias onto Veronica's Hunt wheels, that was a bloody nightmare. That took hours and hours to get right. There were things going everywhere. Literally, it was a mess to get done, but now I know the process for those wheels. That's what I'll be using in the future. Now, there's no standard when it comes to tubeless tyres or tubeless rims. I guess there is for tyres because it has the hook, but your mileage may vary, and the solutions given to me, some worked, some didn't, and what I'm talking about here may not be applicable at all for your tubeless tyres, especially when it comes to the reused tyres. So in summary, reflecting back on that process that I've gone through for something which should have been a 30 to 45 minute job was a complete pain in the arse. So those who love tubeless will be focusing on those tyres that went on just fine, no worries, it's happy days. Those who hate tubeless will be loving the part where I pissed about and contributed quite a lot to the swear jar with those pre-used tyres. But those tips people did give me were much appreciated. I did get those tyres onto Veronica's bike, so fingers crossed it's smooth sailing from here. And once I'd finished all the work and I was quite pleased with myself, I called Veronica down. I said, hey Von, your tyres are now updated to the Gavia tubeless. How do you like that? Her response, can you take them off? I want to switch back to tubes. So there's no winners in this process whatsoever. My takeaway from this entire process with tubeless to date so far is go new or go home and don't bother, because the amount of pissing about with those sticky tires, extra rim tape, extra sealant, extra valve core, it's just too costly. It's a waste of time. 30 minutes or 3 hours of mucking around. Give me 30 minutes, time better spent out on the road. Okay, there we are. My take on road tubeless as a road cyclist who does most of my maintenance at home myself. As I said, I've got a foot on both sides of the fence. I'm still running tubeless. I still want to believe in tubeless. I still like tubeless, but holy shit, the tubes are looking pretty good cost and maintenance wise. I'll check in again once I've got a few thousand kilometers on these GP5000s. I'm looking forward to that. Fingers crossed we're good, but for now, it's time to ride. Thanks for watching.